waiting in the pit lane, getting ready for practice 2 to get underway. So I'll hand it over to Neil Crompton.
Up to you, Jess. Good afternoon, everybody. And looking forward now to seeing our primary drivers have a crack out there in their only appearance for today. It's just 30 minutes of high-intensity supercar action, and the threat is the weather. So when you stop and consider that the next time these guys are going to go out in the race cars tomorrow, it's practice 4 at 10:40, where there's another 30-minute session. After that, they get stuck into armour or qualifying. So there's very little opportunity here to try and understand what the car's doing, how the tyres are matched to the road. Is the setup that you had here in 2018 useful for 2019? The Mustang's come along, the ZB Commodore has changed, so has the Nissan Altima. We've got to respect that 40km/h pit lane speed limit on the radar there and make sure those limiters are engaged through the pit lane. So out they go, but at the moment we've got a fairly lively southwesterly breeze blowing, complete cloud cover, and it's only about 12 degrees out there, and it feels much, much cooler as you come into the commentary box. So fastest car in the first session today was Garth Tander, did a 1 minute 8.03. Bryce Fullwood was second fastest and 8.09. Dale Wood was third fastest, so good start for Nissan in the Altima in positions 2 and 3, and then following them Warren Luff, Jack Perkins for Mobil 1 Racing in the Walkinshaw Andretti United cars. And a reminder for those that weren't with us in our earlier session today, it's retro round, so about a dozen or so cars out there are sporting colours from yesteryear. Our racetrack, Virgin Australia details on screen, 3.1 kilometres for Sandown International Motor Raceway. We're in suburban Melbourne this weekend, about 25 kilometres to the southeast of the CBD. We're in Springvale. This venue opened back in 1962, and we've been racing endurance events here on and off since 1964. Hosted a couple of rounds of the World Sportscar Championship in the early to late 80s. And some of the biggest names in international motorsport have raced on the asphalt here. Brabham, Clark, Moss, McLaren, Surtees. The old Tasman series was a high point. We've seen some cool stuff. Juan Manuel Fangio raced here in 1978, and Brock and Moffat made big careers here. Legendary wins, 9 and 6 apiece. Event 14 to 15 of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship this weekend, so 500 kilometres of racing on this layout that we're looking at. Turn 5 really doesn't exist other than on paper. It's flat, top gear run up the back straight. The cars are doing, depending on the wind direction, about 265 k's. Reprofiled on the outside of turn 6 over the top of the hill, and then you start to run down the hill through 7, 8 to the left-hander at 9, where braking is a challenge because the inside front tyre is very easily locked and damaged down there, and then start heading back towards the pit lane. There are quite a few bumps on the approach to this next right-hander when they get down to turn 11. Really short, sharp shoot there between 11 and 12. You do see some crisscross manoeuvres on occasion where people can sneak down the inside. Turn 13 really doesn't exist either. It's easy, flat. Curbs are very slippery out there at the moment. It's a horse racing facility for the rest of the year. Beautifully presented as always. And our event this weekend is the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. You can see the Penrite signage in the foreground. In fact, their cars this weekend beautifully presented in the gorgeous colours of the JPS BMW team that Frank Gardner, the late great Frank Gardner, formerly ran. Jimmy Richards helped the team in the launch of that process. Indeed, he's got a gorgeous example of a BMW M3 that he's restored in his own workshop here in Melbourne. And so we're celebrating those BMW black and gold colours this weekend, and now Scott McLaughlin goes out and has a run in the car that he shook down at Queensland Raceway, a brand new car for him after the demise of his previous chassis at the Gold Coast when he whacked the wall at turn 3. You can see reference times up on screen there. Now, we saw a time that Garth Tander achieved, which is pretty close to that record-breaking speed that's been achieved here in the recent past, but it's going to be entirely weather-dependent. So I think what's likely to happen as Mark Skaife wanders back into the commentary box is you probably want to get on with it out there and put your qualifying brain on instantaneously to understand what the car's capable of doing and do it, because if we do get a shower, the session will just disappear before the very eyes.
Exactly, Neil. And one of the real keys to this place is trying to understand with the varying surfaces where the grip level lies. So some places are quite high grip. So this new section down here at 11 and 12, if you have a look at the colour of the road, that strip that they put there and the way into the final corner has been able to develop quite a high grip level. And then as you can see the different colours down the main straight, that there are some really low grip areas, especially coming off turn 1 into turn 2 and turn 3. That's the lowest grip section of the racetrack.
It's the colours above that are worrying me. It's grey and darker grey.
Yes.
And particularly from the southwest. So car number 888 is on screen here. Jamie Whincup. Scott Pye's actually just recorded the fastest time out there. We know from confirmation yesterday on the trackside program he's on the move next year. He'll be joining Team 18 and Mark Winterbottom will be his new teammate. He'll be departing Walkinshaw Andretti United. And Whincup's had tremendous success here. And what a combination. We've spoken about this several times this weekend already, Mark, and we did at Bathurst and the Gold Coast. But when you combine the pedigree of a Whincup and Lowndes or a Van Gisbergen and Tander, you start adding together fastest laps, pole positions, race victories, podiums, just the sheer number of kilometres with their backside in the seat of a supercar. It's a formidable wall for everybody to climb over.
Exactly. And it's especially important because when you think about strategy on Sunday, the ability to get your minimum laps done and how that correlates with fuel economy, when you've got co-drivers of that ilk, gives you extreme flexibility around how you do that, trying to make sure that you can get the lead driver back in at the right time and not necessarily be so focused on who's in the car at the time, because if the co-driver can do a similar lap time to the lead driver, then the strategy is much more flexible, and that's going to pay big dividends. So we'll cover that through the course of the weekend. Remember, we saw in the previous session, we made the comment, Neil, there were 19 co-drivers within half a second, so that was fantastic.
Really encouraging for the race on Sunday, and it opens up more flexibility with their strategy, as you say. Fabian Coulthard on screen here on the rundown towards turn 9 in the Shell V-Power racing car. Interesting, there are a couple of people here. You know, typically you start to begin to see in the preparation for these race meetings, I beg your pardon, when Mark and I look at the detail, you see trends, and there's the Bathurst winner Alex Premat together with Tony D'Alberto. A big love in down there at Shell V-Power Racing. They've been very strong in partnership with their primary drivers. You begin to see trends developing with different drivers, and so you look back through history, you go, well, he's clearly gone well here. It's a place that he likes, he knows what's required from a setup standpoint, etc. But a couple of people have got some anomalies here. So Fabian Coulthard, which is where I started the conversation, who was on screen a moment ago, and David Reynolds, right on cue, never had a podium here, which I find odd. And for Scott McLaughlin, he's done well here, but no pole and no victory, which when you consider what Scotty's done in the recent past, that's a little bit weird as well.
Yep.
So David on screen, Fabian on screen. At the moment, Reynolds is sitting in 3rd position and Fabian is down in 21st. So
there's a lot of change going on in terms of outright lap speed, and there's a very, very compact group of cars within that first half a second. So Mark Winterbottom now has done a 10.4 and gone to the top. Scott Pye's done a 10.45. Percat 10.49. Great to have Richie Stanaway back in the car. 10.53. Rick Kelly 10.61. Heimgartner 10.64. David Reynolds 10.64. So when you look through the list and the guys that are recognised superstars in the rain, like Van Gisbergen, I was just about to bring him up, who goes right to the top, and just been usurped by his teammate. 9.41 for Whincup, 9.45 for Van Gisbergen. Cam Waters now comes into 3rd.
So it's taken him about 5 laps to exploit the track, build some temp, some pressure, get the brakes up, get the bar settings and the brake bias just right, and we're starting to see now some pretty decent speed. Heimgartner's on a quick lap as well. So Pye on screen into turn 1 is currently in 3rd. He's on a mid-9. And Heimgartner here down in 14th position, car number 7. Now we know that Bryce Fullwood was strong in the previous session, and the next session that we'll see later today is also for co-drivers once again.
Heimgartner 9.3. Good lap.
Really impressed, and I said at the Gold Coast when we were doing trackside together that I was hoping that they would announce that he'd be staying with the team, and he's battled like a lot of young drivers do to find continuity in his racing career. He seems to have found it at Kelly Racing, and they've stayed with him as they develop the Mustang program going into the new season next year. Whincup's on a good lap here at the moment as well, so he's in the 3rd sector about to come up to the control line, so we'll see whether or not he can climb over Heimgartner, and he does. Actually, that's a pretty good number. He's done a 1 minute 8.5.
Wow. Those conditions like that, that is an extraordinary number. That's 0.6 faster than the rest of the field. In fact, it's 0.6 faster than his teammate.
Think back last year, and it was a lesson in performance that Whincup and Dumbrell gave. In fact, the whole team, we were talking about it before, and reminded that Tander achieved an 8th lap in that earlier session. And you could tell by the body language of his car, as soon as I saw him go out there, he was into it. So Whincup's actually pressing on with it. He's been faster in the first sector than anybody else, which tells you a bit about the braking control at the end of the front straight and how it leaps over the curbs. The second timing intermediate here is at the end of the back straight. So really what you're doing is you're assessing the straight line performance of the cars as they come out of turn 4 and into the braking area at turn 6 at the top of the hill. Off the road goes Whincup. Now that's a big mistake on a lap that could have actually improved on his 8.5. No damage by the look of it. He's nudged gently up to the tyres at 9. Can he squeeze it out of there? The gravel will be partially wet. Sometimes when it is a little wetter, you can move.
That's down at Dandenong Road, so it's Lowndes. That's the nose it's parked.
She's buried in the back there. A red flag.
So the red flag comes out. David Couchy communicates that to Jamie. Jamie just tried to reverse it back a little bit.
Out. In this lap, obviously.
Yeah, so inside front wheel locking, couldn't get it turned off the road.
That's exactly what I was talking about when we had the track map up before. That's always the trap at the bottom of the hill at Dandenong Road at turn 9. There's an enormous temptation to push a little bit harder. So let's see what it looks and feels and sounds like.
Very easy to do.
And it's as soon as you start to roll that weight, have a look at the front left tyre down here. It'll stop. The blue smoke will signal that it's stopping. And that spells off. So he tried to modulate the brake, which means that he was just cycling his foot on and off the brake pedal to create his own manual form of anti-lock braking, of ABS. But it wasn't enough. He just had a little bit too much pace. And then the problem is he's got to try and offer the car up at the corner. So as he rolls the left lock on, the car rolls to the right, the inside front waves to the crowd, and it's unweighted down there. And he was on a lap that was potentially going to improve on his 8.5. So everybody back into the lane. He'll come back in as well. They'll need to extract all the gravel out of the front of that car. So the order at the moment is Whincup, Van Gisbergen, followed by Mostert and Pye. This is Gary Jacobson's car. Check out the travel in the left rear. This is down at turn 2. When it gets wet here, we see lots of little errors in that turn 2 and 3 region of people just scooting through the grass, and then it gets muddy the more people that visit that area, and it kind of, the whole thing degrades, doesn't it, which we've seen on several occasions. Probably true to say that figured in November you might get away from a little bit of that that's gone on here in the past, but it seems as though it follows us down here.
It does.
Tim Slade, car 14.
Nice slide.
It depends on your viewpoint.
Yeah.
Tim's probably not thinking the same, and there is the mud and corruption that I was talking about before. So Aussie Mail colours on both of the Brad Jones Racing cars there this weekend.
Craig Lowndes, we happen to be watching Jamie. Now, if you're going to give him a little lesson in driving going down into there, what would you say? Pretty easy to do, eh?
Oh, look, it is. I think that's, with these conditions, always slippery. Murph had a crack at me after I had my spin at practice 1, but he just got it buried. Like, he just nosed it into the tyres, and you knew straight away, as soon as you're going to put reverse and that, it goes, bleh, and then got nothing.
Let me ask you about that spin. We're all interested, fascinated by your new steering wheel. It looks like the thing that Crompo has on his aeroplane to drive it, right? But when you get out of control, do you find yourself instinctively want to grab another part of the wheel that doesn't exist?
Well, it's interesting. We've been analysing both Garth's spin and my spin from practice 1. I just let go of the whole steering wheel when I knew that basically I was just going to spin around. Garth actually moved his hand around the positioning of the normal steering wheel. So Garth would have been in trouble. He would have been clutching at nothing, which is normally what he does. So, but yeah, look, it's a different steering wheel. Whether we race with it, I don't know, but it's quite nice to drive with.
So we're going to see a lot of it in-car in the telecast. Is it better visually to see your instruments? A little bit of weight loss?
All the above, and I think also extracting in and out of the car. It's because it doesn't have the bottom section, so it's a lot of all that. The hardest thing is because your muscle memory of knowing where all the layout of the old wheel is knowing which button to press and pressing the right one.
Okay, thanks for the heads up, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
Charlie Schwerkolt, retro round, don't trip over, retro round this weekend, and you guys have done a fantastic job with this livery, really awesome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, no, we're really proud of it. It's great for Erwin and Bunnings here. Replicating 2004 Kurt Busch season-winning car at NASCAR. And it looks exactly the same, and yeah, so we hope we can win with it. So it's great.
The big numbers on the side of the car, they just are really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I think every every supercar should have it. It's like a bit of old and looks really, really cool. So, yeah, we'd love to do that for sure.
Hopefully you can replicate some success, and we'll see that on Sunday.
Yes, thanks. Cheers. Thank you.
Car number 18 being driven by Mark Winterbottom and Stephen Richards this weekend, and celebrating that Kurt Busch NASCAR livery from back in 2004. As Charlie said, it's a gorgeous colour. But he said it looks even better in the broad sunlight. The problem is there's not been a lot of that around yesterday or today. I'll take his word for it, but maybe we will get some broad sunlight later in the weekend. Actually, there's a little bit of it down there in a hole to the southeast at the moment. It's a really rich blue, and when the light is on it, it's got a bit of an iridescent look to it, so it's been beautifully presented and beautifully prepared.
So as you can see there, oh, Mounty at work. Wow. Tell you what, he's changed. What have you done with Craig? Huh? What's going on there? What's going on? We just had a great shot there going into turn one of all those different colours, and we talk about this place as a patchwork quilt. It's got more surface changes per kilometre than anywhere else we go, and that's one of the real challenges here. Have a look at that. All those different colours, all those different surfaces, and you've got to try to read the play. So when you put your foot on the brake, car has X amount of grip. You get to another section, it's got less. You get to the next section, it's got more. And when you get to the last bit, the resurfacing right at the bottom of the screen is the darkest and highest grip section. So if you can actually get the car to turn, the trap is that the grip goes away. So once you've turned the corner, it then goes to low grip on the exit.
Well, the other challenge for the pioneers that jump out from behind the preceding car, if you're on the, inverted commas, racing line, and then when you jump to the left down there at turn one, it isn't the same grip level in each little section of the racetrack. Right. So you can suddenly find yourself down there with what we warmly describe as two turning and two burning when you get down to the bottom corner, and they will rapidly fire off the outside of the road down there.
Now, because you're experienced and you have over the years done a lot of tutorials, one of your tutorials is just where those Ava signs are on the inside.
Don't go down the inside.
Don't get down the inside.
Go down the inside.
We'll just have a look at that in a second, because when you get to there, what happens now?
Well, what happens is the corner jumps out in front of you. So what off the start of the race, particularly this is a note to the young blokes, whatever you do, don't be tempted by the devil to go arrowing down the inside and half straddle that yellow line and think, oh, it's fantastic, I'm going to blow by all these idiots in front of me and pop out as a genius on the other side. Because then you trip over the curb, launch into old mate's B-pillar, and if you don't end up with bent steering or in the gravel, you end up dragged back in through pit lane because the umpire says you're a goon.
Good summary. I don't remember your last tutorial being so specific, but that's very good.
We've done the odd drive day here, and yeah, it's in the briefing notes. But I can guarantee you before the weekend's done, you'll see somebody drive down there because they suddenly think they've discovered gold.
It's not?
No. It's an illusion down there.
It's a mirage.
That's it. Whincup is fastest and still in the garage at the moment as they extract a few kilos of gravel. Waters is next in the queue in the Monster Energy Falcon, and this is Van Gisbergen third, whose first sector straight out of the gate off the bat is really quick. Second sector for him is just a little bit slower than Anton's best. Anton De Pasquale is the fastest in sector 2, and Whincup's the quickest in the third sector, which is right where Shane is at the moment. Into 11, second gear, really short shoot, and it's a wriggle of the steering wheel, but on occasion you'll see a cool crisscross move made there by different drivers. They are riding better onto the front straight than they once did, and that's a better lap again, an 8.4 for Van Gisbergen.
Car looks quite nice, doesn't it? Didn't have too much oversteer. Quite pointy on the way into the corner. The two Tickford Mustangs have now gone to the top with Cam Waters an 8.3 and Lee Holdsworth with an 8.4. Heimgartner was on a really good lap just before that red flag. In fact, he's done the fastest first sector. Just been knocked off now by Van Gisbergen, and he should come to the top. He does with an 8.28. So Heimgartner showing really impressive pace. And remember, in the co-driver session practice 1, that Bryce Forward was actually second to Garth Tander. So they are going to be strong through the course of the weekend.
Just a reminder that you're going to see colours in the background here and there today as you pick up and join this coverage that look different to the way in which the cars have been presented through various other times during the year. So there's about a dozen cars out there that are looking quite different. However, the Shell and Red Bull cars presented exactly the same week on week. Gizzy's just gone to the top on an 8.1. He's almost got to the time that Garth Tander did. It was a 1 minute 8.03 in that earlier session today. This is Lee Holdsworth. Lee's gone up now 3 spots in car 5 to position number 2. He's done an 8.1. He's only 100th away from Van Gisbergen. Will Davison's jumped in as well. He's now 6th. Slade's jumped up into 10th position. Courtney has leapt up into 5th. So that's a good opening account for him. We're roughly about halfway through this session. So it'll be all over in a heartbeat for these primary drivers, and then they'll go into heavy debriefs and decide whether or not the car's somewhere in the window. Most of the teams have got a pretty good handle on how to get them where they want to be quite quickly now. And this is one of the vehicles in the field this weekend that's got that special retro livery on it, which celebrates the Holden Racing Team colours of the late 90s, Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes. And that's the Pie Luff car. So they were quick early on. He's currently sitting in 14th position now as car 2 came back into the pits. Heingartner's going on with his lap here as well, Mark.
He is. He backed it off for a lap, so he did that lap time at the 8.2, and he did a 10.5, and now he's gone and done the fastest first sector. He's a little bit away in sector 2 compared to Di Pasquale, who's got the fastest sector 2 time at the moment. Then Whincup is fastest in sector 3. So this is a full-on qualifying rehearsal for some of these guys with a 13-minute... Oh, yes, I was just looking, 30 minutes remaining, and it's lousy. He's doing windscreens, he's doing a bit of dust panning. This is the most useful... Oh, a lot of dust panning. Actually, that's a fair job. Well, we'll cross back to him at 4 o'clock and he'll be finished.
I wonder if there's any gold in there.
Oh, ugly.
There's no gold in that for James Courtney, so that was a 400-metre fright.
Yeah.
It started at the top of turn 6, and he was only marginally in control all the way down the hill, and then had smoke signals trying to stop it at the bottom, but he did get away with it just. Where's he sitting at the moment in 22? He's 5th. Actually, the lap won't look any good now as a result of it, but his mid-sector was actually better than anybody else's, but that's the drag run up the back straight.
I keep thinking about that car. As soon as I see it, I just think Jimmy Richards all the time, don't you, with that beautiful livery, the BMWs of the late 80s, mid to late 80s. And Richo has been part of the launch of that Penrite look for the weekend. Penrite are our naming rights sponsor of this event also. So as he moves over to the left-hand side, just lets Jamie Whincup go by, who's just gone out after getting rid of all that dirt and corruption out of the front air dam and brake ducts and everywhere, and he's out of control. When he first turned it in there, he gathered it up nicely. So that was the opposite. He will have learnt from the brake bias there. So it locked the front wheel before. It actually locked the rear wheel that time when he turned it into Dandenong Road, and he gathered it up beautifully. Great car control. Murph?
Yeah, Scapio, I just wanted to make sure that Garth Tander still had a competitive spirit, and just been watching the lap times and referencing, as you did before, what time GT did in practice 1. And GT, Shane hasn't quite got to that mark yet. Is he on better tyres or worse tyres than you?
Well, you know what it's like, mate. You don't give the co-driver the better tyres. So.
Oh, so what you're saying is he's got better tyres?
Oh, maybe. But at the track, I don't think the track's there yet.
Here we go. Now you're backtracking.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4. It looks like it's probably still a little bit wet up there, so they'll go faster later.
What's the plan for the rest of the session then?
Oh, just keep tuning the car. I mean, I think the first probably 15 minutes of this session, we weren't actually learning anything because the track was drying out. So really, it was just Shane was just doing some laps and getting his head around the joint. Understanding all that new grip level up this end of the track, where the track was probably a bit drier at 11 and 12, so we might start making changes now.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
We've got just on 10.5 minutes remaining. This is practice 2 for the primary drivers. The third practice session later today will be for the co-drivers only. Just a reminder that it's also the final instalment this weekend of the Pertec Enduro Cup. And at the moment, Van Gisbergen and Tander, Garth, who was just on screen, are leading that from their teammates Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes, with McLaughlin and Prema in 3rd position. And this is McLaughlin on the run into the second last corner. He's sitting in 7th position at the moment. Pretty lively on the exit in 2nd gear, so he caught a little bit of the curb, and you already saw, if you were watching coverage earlier today, that the curbs are pretty slippery here at the moment because they're all freshly painted.
You won't like that with the right hand down. It's either been tweaked with the wheel alignment over a curb, or they've slightly got, when they've done the toes on that car, that you just see there in a straight line that it's slightly right hand down. In a place like this, when you spend such a significant amount of time going up and down the pit straight or the back straight, you won't like that it's not pointing exactly straight. See that there? Just a little bit of right hand down. There's a little bit of a kink there. It's made it look a bit worse, but it's just slightly right hand down.
Because you had a really high tolerance for the wheel being 2 degrees out, or the seat being 1 millimetre too far forward or back, or the pedal spacing not being exactly right. You were really tolerant of that, weren't you?
Just as easy to be nice, Neil. Wheel spin there. That was very ordinary coming out of Dandenong Road. That's a corner that has a big bearing on the lap time, because the braking approach, we saw Whincup make a couple of little mistakes there. It's difficult to modulate the brake, then use the curb nicely, then use the exit curb like a motocross berm, and then limit the wheel spin in the next part of the straight. So he's gone slightly faster, but he won't be happy with the car there. There's 2 things about that car at the moment, 3 things. The steering wheel needs to be straightened up. Doesn't ride that curb very nicely, as you can see, but it doesn't put its power down well enough, and it doesn't look pointy enough when you turn the car at the corner. One of the real keys to this racetrack is getting the front of the car, the nose of the car, to get to the apex.
Mark Winterbottom on screen at the moment is in 13th position. He's done an 8.5. It's amazing that you can be 13th and you've only got to find 0.4 of a second as we go back to Heimgartner. Best of the Nissans currently in 5th. He's done an 8.2 and he's only 0.14 away.
So that magical half a second that we spoke of with all the co-drivers, convert that into main driver land, and half a second at the moment is right down to Tim Slade in 16th. So in co-driver, big slide, gathered it up nicely, but 19 positions within half a second for most of the practice 1 stanza, and now only half a second between the top 16 cars.
Yeah. The word was that Andre's gone out there with a fresh tyre on, but the lap didn't get off to a good start there, so he'll have sacrificed probably a kilometre an hour or 2 with that amount of oversteer coming onto the front straight. Hurts the corner exit speed, which hurts the top speed at the end of the chute, and then it was a bit wild over the turn 1 curbing. We'll see what the stopwatch is showing here. So 26.4 for him in the first sector, so it's a long way away from his own personal best. He did 25.8 to be the fastest in sector 1 earlier in this session.
Just warming the tyre up again there. He could, from your point, didn't come onto the straight well enough. He used way too much curve at turn 1. So he's just warming. He's just doing a little bit of tyre warming up the back straight to get that front tyre in. He continues the tyre warming as he goes down under the Penrite sign into turn 11 and 12. Now this will be much more important. Watch this exit. I bet he doesn't make the same mistake. Hard on the throttle, uses a narrow line. Totally different from the previous execution. Does a nice job down here. He's very good under brakes, Crompo. He's got a nice braking feel, Heimgartner. And Waters now coming in. 6 minutes remaining. And you might see some tyres going on cars for this last piece, because remember that for today, this is the last run of the main drivers. Let's have a look at that first sector for Heimgartner. It's a lot better than the previous one, but still not quite as good as his previous best. 26.0 plays at 25.87.
This is a little over a 10th of a second away on his own personal best. And there's a bit of technical stuff in that first sector. There's the braking into 1 and climbing over the curbs at 2, 3, and even the approach into 4 is critical there as well. The reason I say that, it sounds logical, but actually positioning the car to almost the exact right millimetre, particularly to 2 and 3, is really critical to that lap speed. So you've got to be very line specific there to get the maximum result on the stopwatch. This all looks a bit better. It makes me think that it took a while for these tyres to come up.
Yep.
So he's just done a 9.2 on that lap, better in the middle sector, but really not good enough in sectors 1 and 3, so 1 minute 8.2. Back to Courtney 6th at the moment on an 8.2. McLaughlin's just heading out of the lane as well. So after the start of the session, where I almost would have picked money on the fact that we're going to get rain, there's actually some sunlight on the racetrack out there at the moment.
And UV knocks this place around. So what Garth Hander said before, So yes, they'll all go faster, but the track might not be quite as good because the little glimpse, when the track's had some rain on it and it's overcast conditions, there's a little glimpse of speed when the circuit's like that. So that UV, the sunlight, will knock the lap time around. And the first 7 of the weekend for Anton De Pasquale. Lucca?
Yeah, and I think these times are going to heat it hot up. Neil, you're dead right. I think it's quite a lot of the teams out. There's quite a scurry down here, particularly on both these shell cars I've seen, where they've worked on the rear of the cars. They sent them out thinking it was going to be pretty well wet for a lot of the session. As it's drying up, they're making the rear of the cars more aggressive. Mark, to what you were talking about, you need the things to turn in, and before they had them so they'd squat nicely, less grip. Now they'll turn into the slower corners a little quicker. Should see some good times here.
Yeah, we've got 4 minutes remaining, so not much time to be able to manoeuvre right now. So the fastest we've seen is Anton De Pasquale. He's done a 1 minute 7.89. Van Gisbergen, who's come into the pits, has also done a pretty impressive time in the first sector. So the fastest time that we've seen here in a supercar period is Whincup. He's done a 1 minute 7.83. So Anton's time is threatening the best numbers that we've seen around here.
This is up again. This is a very, very good lap. So as long as he can make that last sector, because remember, that's his second lap. See what it does. Slightly slower, last sector. 0.2 slower than Whincup's best. So a 7.92 plays the 7.89 that Anton did on his first lap. He's picked up tape from the bay. So that's the marking bay going into his pit bay. As he's driven back out, he's picked up that tape and latched it on the tyre. So that's one of the wild card entries for Brody Kostecki. They did a good job, remember, repairing that car and getting that back out at Bathurst. They did a nice job. Here's Scott McLaughlin now, who, looking at his numbers, he's done a reasonable job, probably, but it does not look good enough at the moment. This car, it doesn't quite turn at the corner well enough at this point, and I'm sure that's what he's complaining about. Comes up to second with a 7.9.
He's only a tenth of a second away. Just quickly on Kostecki's, an all-giant lock-up down there into turn 1. Whoever it was, maybe lucky to survive that one. No. So Hazelwood running wide down there in 35. So Sharon Rendell's colours on that car this weekend. Only just got away with that one. I just quickly want to say before the tempo picks up really quickly here that the Kostecki boys did an awesome job on the Sunday at the Gold Coast, and it kind of eclipsed, but they got home in 16.
Yeah.
And that was a mighty performance, considering the nuts and bolts that they were dealing with off the back of Bathurst. Here's the replay of what happened to Todd. And he actually got it onto the apron, but ultimately ran out of road and fed it back in at turn 2. Here's another angle. So it's a big inside front lock, and it's gone across the face of the corner 15 or 20 kilometres an hour too quick. Able to cleanly get back on. A little bit of traffic to contend with here also for Mostert.
It was a good lap too. That was a really good sector for Mostert. Did it knock him around? Not that much. It looks like, yeah, hard to tell yet, because his personal best first and second sector, this will put him way up. There might have been a little glimpse there, and he has done an 8.05, a little glimpse of a balk coming out of Dandenong Road. David Reynolds is going to come up. David Reynolds has done the fastest first sector, and he does. He does a 7.7. Does that break that record?
It is. It's the fastest we've ever seen with the supercar. Two engineers at Penrite, Alistair McVeigh and Mirko de Rossa, and that's Luke Youlden, who'll be co-driving car number 9. So nice work, David Reynolds, at 1 minute 7.7779. Impressive. 1/10 of a second margin over his own teammate. So at the moment, Penrite Oil's at the top of it.
Still got that wheel spin, McLaughlin. Oh, and off. 30 seconds. So that's Scott Pye off the road in exactly the same spot as Whincup. Mostert joins him. Mostert, no.
Nice. You held your breath, but I don't think it helped.
Okay, buddy. Only 15 seconds remaining in the session, and we'll see you out in a minute.
So we've got Pye down there, Mostert down there. Mostert sitting in 4th. Here's the replay from halfway up the back straight. So he's about to grab top gear and then sizing up how hard he can push it into this new reprofiled section of the track. Too much pace. So it understeered over the top of the hill. Couldn't get all the pace off it at the bottom and straight ahead. And you see Scott's car over there on the left, just past the A-pillar. So a bit of cursing going on in the garage at Super Cheap Auto Racing, so a bit of frustration. They'll also have to extract some gravel. And here's what happened to Scott, who was ahead of Chaz at this stage. It all starts back here. Sometimes that little bit of jutting curbing also just catches the front left in the process. And yeah, you can see that he's filthy with himself for that one, but it's very easily done. So a couple of front runners who were just parked up awkwardly right at the back end of the session though, so I don't think it had any giant impact, but an impressive performance for Penrite Racing. David Reynolds and Anton De Pasquale 1 and 2, 1 minute 7.779, fastest time we've ever seen for a supercar at this venue. So that's an impressive time considering the lack of running. So David Reynolds, as all the other primary drivers have had to deal with this really short session and getting on with the job nicely. So that car must have rolled out of the truck pretty strongly. Then McLaughlin, Mostert, Holdsworth, Van Gisbergen, Winterbottom, Davison, Whincup and Heimgartner. And just outside, we've got Courtney, Waters, Slade, Golding, Kelly, Percat, Coulthard, Stanaway, Di Silvestro, Jacobson, Hazelwood, Pye, Kostecki, Jones and LeBron. Greg?
This has all got to be about this fantastic new colour scheme for this weekend. What a great speed out there, mate. Your helmet looks sensational too, by the way. You got to love the way that thing looks.
Yeah, it does look good, but yeah, 1-2, that's good, really good for us. It's probably a bit of conspiracy because like it's the Penrite Oil 500 and Penrite cars.
No, we all realise that.
Make a conspiracy anyway. So no, my car was really good then. Obviously the first couple of laps we were trying to get up to speed. There was a bit of damp patches everywhere, so weren't risking the car heaps. And yeah, it's a good job by the team. It's good.
Good job by you too, mate, because that is a new
thanks.
track record.
Oh, is it? Oh, sweet.
Fastest ever bloke in a supercar around here. Look at that, a 7.779. You are the new practice record holder.
That's not bad. I wonder how long it's going to last.
How long do you think it will last, though, based on what you just saw and felt out there?
Well, until people start putting new tyres on, who knows where everyone's at. But yeah, obviously with the resurfacing and stuff around the track, the track's very, very grippy. So in some spots, not in all spots. So it's going to be interesting.
And the other bonus about this is I can actually understand you this time talking to you. 2 weeks ago, it was you were unaudible.
Oh, thanks, man, yeah. Why did you even talk to me then? I was sick. You just wanted to take the piss out of me.
You're still sick.
Yeah, thanks.
Lee Holdsworth, sorry, I was letting you debrief with your engineer. Hey, Lee, position 5, you can't be unhappy with that, mate, but, gee, changing conditions in that session, hard to get a read.
Yeah, really hard to get a read at the start there in the first run. Sammy was asking me what the car's like, and I really couldn't give him anything because you're just trying to search for a bit of a grippy line, and it was just hard to put a lap together there. Patchy, wet everywhere, and then dry in other places. So finally came good from about half session onwards. But yeah, it's taken a long time to get some temperature in the tyres, so you're sort of out there for 4 or 5 laps to do your best time. So we need to work out how to switch them on a bit quicker.
All right, and tyres that were on there then?
Yeah, we put a good set on there at the end, so didn't do our best time because I had to back out from the yellow, so I think there's still a bit more in it.
Love it when Lee Holdsworth says there's more to come, mate. We look forward to it.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Andre Heimgartner, really mixed conditions out there for you, and we were actually following you while you were on that new tyre. It looked like it maybe wasn't coming up to temp for you. What was the story for that?
Yeah, it was very different. It was actually faster to be on an old tyre than was. I'm not sure why. It just sort of pushed its head off and across the top there, just had no grip. So we'll have to look at that and see why that is. But looking at the times, no one went substantially faster. They had an all right set of tyres on before they chucked the greens on. So yeah, we'll have a look. It's a bit frustrating. I was expecting to go out there and get a whole lot of grip, but it sort of had the opposite effect. So yeah, we'll have to look at that. At least it'll be a good race car, I guess. So yeah, we'll push on.
Thanks, Andre. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you.
And the other half of the Penrite team here, at the top of the timesheets as well. Mate, great result there. What tyre were you on?
We just ran a better used tyre than the first one, still used. So we didn't have time with all that wet start at the start to run a green or anything like that. So the car was going quite good. I think it's good. It's our first sort of 1-2 as a team. It's only practice, but it's still cool. And all the boys and everyone's really happy.
Yeah, just on that, I mean, have you guys looked at something different for this weekend? Is it, just moving forward from learnings from the Gold Coast? I mean, the cars were quite fast there as well. What's the carryover, or is there just a whole other look at how you're going about this weekend?
No, I think it's just a carryover from Gold Coast. Although this track's very similar, although it's not, it is a very similar style, the track to the Gold Coast. And our current Sunday was really fast. Just, we got caught up with all the other stuff going on. So we're just learning from there. We still obviously got tuning to go. Obviously got cut a bit short, and other dudes would go fast, and there's still time to tune the cars. So we still got work to do, but so far it's a good start.
But do you genuinely think that you've made some progress with the base balance of your cars?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously new surface, a bit more grip on the track makes it a bit more fun to drive and a bit faster, and our cars always generally go pretty good on a new surface, so it's good.
You put your feet up for the rest of the day now too?
Yeah, half an hour of work. It's a hard day. Cheers. Thanks.
Yeah, not much time, but plenty to do certainly here for our A drivers. It'll be straight into qualifying tomorrow, though. They'll be keeping a very close eye on what transpires in the practice session for our co-drivers a little later this afternoon, given the changeable weather conditions we're having here at Sandown. So definitely an improved base balance for Penrite Racing, but both Anton and David Reynolds are not counting their chickens before they've